All right, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Monday, 10:26 a.m. That's California time, January 20th, 2025 is the date. Latest activity here on the Earthquake 3D globe, registering as a little 2.9 here across the California area. That's going to be the latest here on the San Andreas Fault there, the southern segment of the San Andreas Fault with a 2.9, 7 miles deep there underneath the area. Got some major uptick going on here across the Taiwan area. Got quite a bit of swarming going on here, including a 6-pointer that struck just a couple hours ago. Now, there is a lot more earthquake activity stirring up there in this region compared to what the USGS is showing on their map. There's a number of 4s and 5s mixed in there for some aftershock activity in the area of Taiwan. Of course, this follows some movement that happened over here previously in the last week with quite a few 4s and 5s out there. That adjustment taking place and the strain hitting the Taiwan area right now following all this movement just a few days ago. And that makes sense here because the general plate dynamics here for this area, here's Taiwan, here's the Filipino plate. The general stress when we get earthquake activity out here, Taiwan area right here, here's Japan, Taiwan down here. That, obviously is a major crunch zone where we see a lot of the plates tend to subduct and collide. That, obviously is showing a lot of activity here today. And it's got me a little bit nervous here of the Nankai Trough up north with all the movement down south here recently, just south of the area. I'll show you guys what I mean. In fact, one of the latest earthquakes here on the map as well is across the Japan area of the Japan Trench. So we got the Nankai Trough here, and I try not just to repeat myself, but this area is under the gun in terms of stress accumulation right now with all the activity happening around it, and more so the recent activity down south here, newer activity up north, even though the USGS is not showing a recent 4.1 and a 3.6. It is there. We got the 4.1 here, and it almost looks like the 3.6 is directly on the Nankai Trough area. Let me look at that real quick on the EMSC model. I wish the USGS had an option to include the international earthquakes below the 4.5 threshold. That would be nice. So yeah, we do have one earthquake here. Fairly recent on the Nankai Trough, 40 kilometers deep here into that area. Movement up north here around the Japan area. Again, that's putting all the strain on the Nankai Trough, which is right about here. And this area is the region that got put a mega quake warning out on it here recently, just last year from the Japanese meteorological agency there because of all the heightened earthquake activity around it. The general sense here, obviously the strain, right, up against the subduction zone. If you think of plate tectonics as they move, it would make sense. All these arrows pointing into that general region, this area right here. Now this area is capable of producing a mega quake, and the last series of earthquakes there was back in 1944 and 1946 with only 2 segments here rupturing, A and B and C and D. E has not ruptured since 1854. Previous to that, all the segments erupted at once, or ruptured at once, not erupted, but ruptured at once for an 8.6 magnitude level there. So there's obviously a lot of time that has passed since E has ruptured in terms of the built-up strain, 1854. 1954 or 1944, 46, the last couple earthquakes there of 7.9 and M.8. A little bit of time has passed from there as well, but it doesn't take hundreds and hundreds of years to build up strain in this area. The slip rate up there against the subduction zone is quite high compared to, say, California, where it takes, a couple hundred years for built-up strain to produce a large earthquake. Different type of plate boundary out here, by the way. But this subduction zone is, I feel, pretty ripe for some larger scale earthquake activity. So we got to watch that region specifically. Nothing moving on that right now, but man, there's been a lot of activity around it, putting this area right in the sweet spot, in the hot spot zone of built up strain. Movement all around it, and you got to remember, when all this activity takes place here, it puts further strain over here across the western area of the Filipino plate, and that's why we're seeing the elevated activity here today of all the recent movement kind of traveling down this direction. But this area has yet to move, and that's going to be a big one when it does pop. So that's something to watch here pretty closely. And more so now that we got, we got all this activity stirring up in Taiwan, further escalation and movement up here around Japan. Keep an eye right here on the Nankai Trough. I'm just got an odd feeling about this. Been a lot of activity here, not only in the last couple months, but last year was seen a major earthquake swarm out here. Bunch of 5s and a couple low-grade 6s as well. And nothing out here across the Nankai Trough, but it's building up that strain for the next big mega quake, and that will come eventually. No telling when. Could be today, could be tomorrow. Got to watch that when things are out there around the region, quite active. All right, so that's our hotspot area today. Keep an eye on. Also some movement out here across the Andaman Sea area. A couple 5s coming in from late last night, right along the plate boundary. The latest one shows a 5.3 outside the Nicobar Islands area, Andaman Sea region. Nothing big going on there for now, but they can get some big earthquakes out there as well. And of course, the Java Trench is a major producer of mega quakes, that's for sure. Any subduction zone region. New Zealand got a little swarming going on here, just around the almost looks like the Hikurangi subduction zone. So let me go check out the GeoNet servers real quick, see what we have going on here on this Monday. Technically, it's going to be Tuesday there. Tuesday, January 21st. 3 hours ago, 2.7. There's a couple 3s there around the Hikurangi subduction zone, the northern end. Got a number of 3s, it looks like, here in the last couple hours. That, the Hikurangi sits right about here, and we're getting that earthquake activity right at the northern end, it looks like, on the map. Go back here. Yeah, it looks like it's just right there across the northern end. Well, that's a 5.3, but there's some 3s stirring up out here. 33 kilometers deep for that earthquake, 26 for the other 3-pointer, and that's just the ones that are being monitored. Let me check out the, don't need a tsunami map yet, but eventually that will come, unfortunately. Earthquake drums. Let's see, there's those 3-pointers up here, mainly showing up here across the North Island, New Zealand station. And again, the Hikurangi subduction zone sits right in it's right in an area here of major concern with Wellington. You got Christchurch down here. If this thing ruptures and pops, that will no doubt produce a tsunami as well. That's the Cascadia subduction zone of the New Zealand area. We got our sleeping giant up here, right? The Cascadia through the Pacific Northwest. This is their sleeping giant, and that's been showing some elevated activity out here. A lot of deeper earthquakes here underneath North Island last year. Now we're getting some further adjustment up towards the locked area. Keep an eye on that. It has been hundreds of years since we've seen a big earthquake out there, and that's capable of producing a 9-pointer. Which will come eventually, right? I mean, there's a lot of scenarios out here. One thing is certain is that they will happen again. History, in terms of plate tectonics out here, has a pretty much a regular occurrence interval out here around the world. And the regular occurrence interval is quite high for the Nankai Trough there. That's why I'm primarily focused for that area right now. Some further movement out in the southeast Pacific Rise, a pair of 5s it looks like. Out there outside of Easter Island, out here on this little fracture boundary. Kind of see a couple different fractures out here. Easter Island region 5.3. Quite swarm. There's a lot of swarming going on here across the Middle America Trench today. Some 3s and 4s up and down the border here of the Middle America Trench. Did not mean to spin it that fast. That activity really not showing up here on the USGS map, but it is there. That looks like it is starting to escalate a little bit further northward here into California. Yesterday we had a number of earthquakes down here across the Baja California region, with some 3s stirring up yesterday. It looks like things are starting to advance northward. There's that 2.7 right smack dab on the San Andreas Fault. Aside from that, little earthquake activity out here across the Malibu region. I guess things are starting to fill in out here again. Last year when we had a bunch of 4s out here, we've seen various areas showing elevated seismic activity. Bakersfield here, Malibu Coast Fault, the Puente Hills Thrust Fault underneath Los Angeles. Numerous areas started to show elevated activity at a heightened time. I thought for certain we were going to see some bigger earthquake down here. But it's starting to kick back. It died down for a little bit, starting to kick back up here in the last day or so. With some of these previous regions that I was just talking about, seeing some elevated activity. 2.6 Malibu, San Andreas Fault, some activity stirring up. So we'll definitely keep an eye here on the Southern California areas. We're looking at a little bit of migration of that pressure transfer here from the south up along the plate boundary. Bay Area, pretty quiet. Northern California, not a whole lot happening here for now. Got one earthquake 17 miles deep here in the southern end of the Cascadia megathrust region. That's been showing quite a bit of activity here recently as well. Tremor out here last night consisted of, let's see what the tremor was. I can't remember exactly. We had about 295 epicenters of tremor from yesterday. Some down here across the southern end of the Cascadia, mainly up north here. This is the area of Oregon, or the central portion here of the Cascadia subduction zone, that normally plays kind of a catch-up game. Most of the tremor activity occurs north or south of this area, and this is always the last to fill in before we start to see further movement. But any kind of tremor activity here down in the southern end has been triggering earthquakes upstream in the locked area, and that's a sign of things getting super tight and pressurized out here. I know they're only reporting one earthquake here today, or late last night, but it's been quite active out here in the region with a pair of deeper earthquakes up north as well. And that's just the earthquakes that are being reported. I've seen a number of times out here the Petrolia and the Dinsmore Station, which are near the this area, showing numerous earthquakes and nothing being reported and nothing being added days later either. So earthquake activity and the tremor, elevated tremor activity in this region goes hand in hand. And that tells me right there that things are quite strained out here. When you get a little bit of tremor, that tremor acts. What's going on here is, the plate boundary, the plates here, the Gorda Plate, the Juan de Fuca Plate is being subducted underneath the North American region here. This is the Cascadia subduction zone. As the tremor activity occurs downstream, that adds further back building of the pressure across the Cascadia megathrust area. And that's why we're seeing, earthquake activity pretty much follow any tremor events that occur in this area. I'm going to take a cough drop here real quick. I'm just about to normal. Still a little raspy in my voice, but hopefully a cough drop will fix that. So keep an eye there, southern end of the Cascadia. Trail of activity out here through western Nevada again. That's the sign of pressure out here across California, the plate boundary itself, line of activity. It's been that way for the past few months with numerous swarms out there across western Nevada, more so than normal. Let's see, Pacific Northwest, nothing really showing up there for now, but it's a holiday, right? Federal holiday, so it's going to be... It probably won't be until tomorrow if there's any smaller quakes happening out there. Up in Montana, some larger activity, 3.3 outside of Augusta, Montana. That is associated with the fault boundary. It sits over here. There's a number of fault systems here, but USGS not really showing them all. North of Helena, early this morning, about 3 o'clock in the morning, 15 miles deep there, not associated with the Yellowstone. Some earthquake activity outside the Hebgen Lake Estates area as well, 2.7. It's earlier this morning. I bet you those earthquakes showed up on the Yellowstone map, though. Let me run over and double check this here real quick, see what we have. There we go. So the more distant earthquake is going to be right here. That's going to be the Montana earthquake, about 3 something in the morning. Right here. 3:18 in the morning, 3.3. And I can tell it's distant because of the way the reading looks here on the graph. More localized earthquake right here. A couple hours ago in the Hebgen Lake Estates area. As far as that 6-pointer showing up in Taiwan, I am not seeing it. They don't always show up out here thousands of miles away, but occasionally those big earthquakes that happen around the globe do show up on some of the seismograph stations. But as far as earthquake activity in general, no major earthquakes swarm. There's a couple smaller quakes out here overnight and this morning. These are very small microquakes. It does look like there's a strain out here in terms of plate tectonics, not volcanic activity, but the general faults out here against this area are quite amplified. We can see it with the Montana earthquake down south here. That would obviously put a little bit of strain out here on the Yellowstone region in terms of plate stress. And we're seeing a couple smaller earthquakes out here this morning. Nothing big, just mainly around the Madison River area, it looks like. A couple of those smaller spikes showing up here around the Hebgen Lake area as well, as noted. Very small earthquakes. Those are, probably 1.1, 1.2 or so. But Yellowstone, the Wyoming area, they normally don't report the smaller quakes here on the weekends or any holidays. So we'll have to wait till tomorrow, see if they report them or not. May take them a couple days. Texas oil fields, not a whole lot of earthquake activity out there today. A mixed bag from yesterday and some smaller quakes from today. The New Madrid seismic zone, nothing showing up there for now. Let's take a look here at the earthquake 3D globe, see what else we have. Alaska, a couple smaller quakes up there. Man, that's just suspicious right here, though. Like I say, X marks the spot. That Nankai Trough there is in a major area where strain has been greatly applied, and I think it's got enough strain right now for a big earthquake. Pair of earthquakes here across the Vanuatu area northward. Definitely more active out here today. A couple more earthquakes in the Ethiopia rip boundary. There we go. The cough drop here just kind of messing with my tongue a little bit. One of those little menthol ones. It helps out a little bit. 4.4 from yesterday and a 4.4 from today. Got 157 earthquakes there of decent magnitudes, all above 4.0 and above. Even had a couple fives in there as well. Movement out here has calmed down slightly in the last few days. Haven't really seen consistent earthquake activity as noted, but and noted previously, but still keeping an eye on that region. Could see some, volcanic activity out there across the rift boundary. Nothing going on in Hawaii? That's kind of hard to believe. Not even an earthquake? Losing my voice again. Let's go check that out here real quick, see what we got for the Kilauea volcano on the big island of Hawaii. Well, looks like we're still on a pause here as of a couple days ago. Just some volcanic gases seeping out here. A little area out further away from our main vents. These two areas have been active in terms of eruption activity across Kilauea volcano. I'm starting to wonder here if we may see a new opening out here across this area soon. But it looks like the eruption has paused. Let's check out the deformation data real quick. I'm sure that's going up. Makes sense. If it wasn't going up, then that would tell me that the whole area is blocked down below. But here's our inflation. There's our last eruption ending here just a couple days ago. So we're going back up. Pretty steady pace. No telling, though, how long it will take before we see enough pressurization underneath the area to produce some more lava fountaining there across Kilauea Volcano. The last one took a few days there. We had a pause there on the 3rd, built up for a little bit to our most recent eruption. And then, as you can see, you know, we may have a few days. We follow this trend line. This is the vertical displacement. Things, you know, match anything like we had seen here in the weeks past. It may be a few days before things start to kick back up there across Kilauea Volcano. I would love to go out there and see that one of these days. Never been to Hawaii. One of these days we'll get there. Earthquake activity. That's the other thing I wanted to see. Yeah, there's definitely not a lot of earthquake activity. Nothing showing up here on this map. Not even a small one. Well, okay, maybe one little bitty one right there, but I don't even think that counts. All right, let's see. Moving on here. Space weather activity. Anything happening? Well, not a whole lot. Looks like some sea flare activity here in the last few minutes or so, but generally quieter conditions out here, and that is due to a couple different factors. We got sunspot number 39, what is it, 3947? 3964 over here. That is just about out of sight, out of mind on the western limb. It has been in a decaying state over the last couple days. There is one region right here starting to flare. That's our current sea flare activity. Let's take a look at that. That's going to be 3961, a fairly massive sunspot area. Looks like it's starting to fill in a little bit here in the center portion of that core, which would make it more complex. 3961. See this little bit of filling in here, a little bit more complex in terms of magnetic structure within that sunspot core. That is directly facing us now. And that has taken front stage here, it looks like, in terms of what to watch out for as far as stronger flaring goes. Keep an eye on this area. Again, I do see a couple different regions here of some growth within the main core, and obviously it is showing some flaring signs with the magnetic arches here looping between the polarities that create that special spark out there, the flaring. So keep an eye on that. Overall flare threat, 20% chance. M flare at 60. C flare at 99% chance or so. No major roars in the forecast. Quick glance here at, I wonder if our asteroid website's working. It was down yesterday, but looks like it's up now. Oh, that is a big asteroid there, 220 feet. Looks like that's fairly safe, though, just about 2 million miles away today. Really nothing of major interest here in terms of close approaches. That's all considerably safe there. Quick glance at the fire map. I know Southern California, oh man, they're looking at another strong, very strong Santa Ana wind event today. Or, excuse me, I think it's late today into tomorrow. We'll check out that forecast here in just a minute. As of right now, the fire containments there are getting well taken care of. No new fire starts. The Palisades fire, 59% containment. No hot spots being observed. And the Eaton fire, 87% containment. No hot spots being observed. Unfortunately, with this big wind event coming up, that could change in terms of new fire starts out here. Let's check out the windy model out here real quick. By the way, this is one of my favorite apps. I use it quite a bit. I got the premium version out here. It's not all that expensive. but it's cool to be able to look at all this different stuff in terms of forecasting tools. I'm a big weather guy. Wind gust out here. Let's go ahead and zoom in here to Southern California. Man, I wish that was over here more. Might bring us some rain. A low pressure system way offshore in not a good area. It's not going to do nothing for California. Pretty windy out here, Northern California. Got wind out of the north, drying things up, including my voice. Winds kicking up here into the Los Angeles area. We're expecting winds way above that. We're talking about maybe 100-mile-per-hour winds up into the mountain ranges, into some of the higher peaks. 60-mile-per-hour gusts up there right now. And as we put this into motion throughout the day today, things amplify with a huge offshore Santa Ana wind event going on as we head into Monday night. And it's going to be a bad one. I'm just hopeful that things will stay clear in terms of any fire starts out here. But it's going to be a windy day, and the potential for the fire starts are great out here. Fire danger. So this is the 19th. Today's the 20th. As you can see, extreme out here across the areas of Malibu, Thousand Oaks, Santa Clarita. Quite high everywhere else as well. But of course, up around these mountain regions where we're going to see 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts up there, that is quite high. Here's the fuel moisture. As you can see, everything bone dry out here. Not looking at any lush gardens or any lush type of forestry out here. Everything's just super dry. The fire spread can be quite great. So that's for Monday. Tuesday, we're expecting those strong Santa Ana winds to continue out there and just blow offshore. Little bit less on the Wednesday and Thursday, or actually Thursday. Wednesday still looks quite amplified out there. So a couple days of dealing with some strong winds and the potential rapid rate of fire spread. I would not be having a barbecue out there today. Here in Northern California, we're out in the green. These guys down here in Southern California have not seen a drop of rain in many, many months. I only picked up a measly 1/4 of an inch of rain here for January, and it doesn't look like we're going to get any rainfall. Normally, we should see easily a few inches of rainfall on average. This is our wet season out here. This is when we get our rainfall. We don't get our rainfall in the summertime or springtime like out here across the plains or northern plains in the summertime or the east whenever. November, December, January, February, and March is our wet months out here. And man, wow. Look at this drought map. This is not looking good. We are filling in with some exceptional to even some extreme drought conditions across Northern California. It's already been like that there in Southern California, but that's going to fill in even more. And that's at the surface level. The deeper regions still in the drought conditions up there. Northern California, outside of Chico, where I'm at. If I were to dig down a little bit, it'd probably still be fairly moist. We got a lot of rain back in December, but since then, it's been bone dry. That's why at the surface levels, the drought conditions are seeping back in. Moisture anomaly, as you can see, way dry out here across the West Coast, including Oregon up there as well. They've had a lot of rainfall, but, oh man, not good. The deeper regions are even starting to show the drought conditions compared to normal for this time of year. And, unfortunately, there's not any change in the forecast here unless something magically is going to appear out here. I mean, we got a cold system coming down from the north, looks like around next weekend, but very limited moisture. Maybe some snow there for the Four Corners area, maybe some snow in the southern end of Sierra Nevada mountains, but very limited moisture. And as you can see, that's it. I mean, look at this look at the total accumulated precipitation runs out here up until almost into the second week of February. This is unreal. Super dry conditions out there across the West Coast. That is not looking good. Any severe weather out there in the forecast? Nope. Nothing. Not a whole lot of anything, folks. So anyway, we'll continue to keep an eye there on the Southern California wind conditions and any hopefully no fire starts. But it's there. The possibilities are extreme today for fire starts. It's weird. Up here in Northern California, when we have major wind events and super dry conditions, PG&E, which is our power company up here, Pacific Gas and Electric, they shut down the power up here before the wind events even start. And then, yeah, it kind of sucks for the people that live up in the mountains or little communities up here. But just in case, it prevents any fires from starting, say power lines go down. So, they go out and double check the power lines before they fire things back up. And that's, kind of a safety deal, which is, if I lived up in the mountains and they shut my power off for a couple days, I would make sure I have generators, obviously, and some fuel. But to possibly prevent fires from starting during major wind events, yes, I would be okay with that. I'm not for sure why they don't do that down here. But, yeah, either way, just be safe out there. Keep your eyes open. Report any suspicious activity that you see. And keep an eye there on the San Andreas Fault. Obviously, that's another disaster just waiting to happen. All right, folks. I'm out of here. We got another 3-pointer down here across Philippines. It's just a lot of amplification of strain out here across this region, folks. And when you got a major subduction zone that's overdue in certain segments, that's not a good sign. Watch the Nankai Trough there. It's a very interesting area dynamically, and they have some big earthquakes there. And it, like I say, it doesn't take 300-400 years for strain to build up out here. There's actually a pretty decent article here on the Wikipedia page that talks a lot about it. Shows the past earthquakes and magnitudes and whatnot, and which segments ruptured, tsunami maximum wave heights. Check out some of these wave heights here from A and B for an 8.4 back in 1854. 28 meters. That is crazy. So, yeah, it definitely got some damaging potential out here for the Japan area, and of course, Pacific-wide. This is a 9.1 envisioned focal area of a Nankai mega earthquake. This was put out in 2013, but if the entire thing ruptures out here, that's a 9.1 magnitude level. That's pretty significant. That would probably do more than the meters mentioned down here. That was only section A and B for an 8.4. 9.1, well, yeah, that's even worse. All right, folks, I'm out of here. I'm going to go, I don't know, maybe take a spoonful of honey here, soothe the throat a little bit. You have yourself a good Monday. For some reason, I was thinking it was Sunday, but it's actually Monday. Feels like a Sunday. January 20th, 2025. Have a good one. We'll catch you guys out here later.